All right, let's get you guys working through the second buildup here. So with the second buildup, we want to make it a little bit different than the first buildup. So if we review what we have,
All my life, all my life, all my life, all my life.
very energy inducing, very forthcoming. So by the time we get to the second build, we've heard most of the song. So when we get to this point, we want to think about kind of a new, maybe a new element or just something that tells us, okay, the song is still going, but we have something new to look forward to. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to work it section by section today. So we have our lead vocal. It's going to be the exact same. I really liked the All My Life, just using this as kind of our build section. So if we take this from our previous build, copy and paste here, then we get
All my life, all my life.
all right, you guys get it. So the other thing we have in here is we have our low chop that's going beneath the build in the first section to kind of indicate what's to come in the drop. So if we hear the
All my life, life.
so I want to hear that again. I really like that. That's very inducive to what's about to come. So let's go ahead, pop that guy back in there. So that's going to be on our low chop, the one with the chorus plugin, the one that makes it extra wide. So we can go ahead, grab it from the build again. We'll go ahead, pop it on build two right here. So now we have this guy.
All my life, all my life.
So now this is where it comes into, I want something different. This little bar of silence that we created on the first build here. We had drums leading into it. I want to try something else. So we have this low chop here, and then we have a separate track that is the low chop. It's processed precisely the same. Don't worry about this EQ. I can see it changing. We'll get into the finite details of that during mixing. But so low chop center, all we're going to take is the last piece right here. I don't want it to be wide. I want it to be centered in your ears because for when we're in this build, everything's wide. It sounds super nice. Right before the drop in this section, I want to narrow just this one piece. So once we get to the second drop, we can make it super wide again. So all we have to do, if we have this track, low chop center, you guys can copy this low chop track. Once you get to it, just turn the chorus plugin off. That's going to, so if we listen to obviously this one, you guys can hear where that is in your ears. If we just drop this piece right here and it's on this channel now, which has no chorus plugin, dead center. So then we get
All my life, all my life, all my life, all my life.
pretty sweet. So in our chord stack here, we want to start copying and pasting some of the pieces. So obviously our pad synth is bringing us through pretty much the whole song here. So we want that. I'm also going to take the guitar arp. I want to keep that going. We're also going to take the heavy synth. I want to keep that going. Now, what I added to this second build here to kind of introduce the coming into the drop piece again is the choir track. So I would like the choir -7 to come back in. So we're going to drop that right here. So we have the pad synth only in build two. We're just focusing here. We have pad synth, guitar arp, heavy synth, choir -7. So let's listen back to how this sounds. So we get from our second verse, which keep in mind has automation. So let's see what happens.
Dog, you're my witness. All my life, all my life,
Very worldly
all
sounding.
my life, all my life.
Okay, so let's think about we want kind of that silence again. So what I'm gonna do is actually take the pad synth when this little chop comes in right here. I want the pad synth to stop playing. I want that guitar arp to stop playing. And we'll talk about the heavy synth in a second. So now we get right there when everything stops.
All my life.
Kind of just get the heavy synth bleeding through. So we're going to talk about what to do with this heavy synth because this involves automation. So with our heavy synth, to make this really start acting like a buildup, even without the drums, we haven't even gotten to the other elements yet. We want to start increasing the frequency back on it. So if we open up our automation table, hit A, you guys can see it's still at 740. So we know when we get to drop two, we're going to open this back up to 20,000. So at this point right here, halfway through the build, so at bar 61, I'm going to drop an automation node and pin it right to 61. And then on drop two, snap it there. We're going to bring it up to 20,000. So this is going to increase, let the top end shine back through as this build is coming back, increasing energy, increasing feel. And then what I found out is really cool. This is all by trial and error when I'm writing this. When all you have is the heavy synth and this low chop, you get this awesome heavy synth rising effect and also the low chop playing at the same time. So we get
All my life. All my life. All my life. All my life. All my
just bah, like it's just coming, it's ready to go. So that sounds really cool. So I also decided that I wanted to cut the pad synth. I wanted to almost just have drop elements start for the first half of the build here. So we're really introducing a new section of music, saying this is a new part. We're going to cut this pad synth because we've heard it up until this point through the entire song. You guys can see pad synth all the way to the beginning of verse one. So if we play this back, now we just kind of get the drop instruments and the vocal.
in the light, in the dark, you're my witness. All my life.
Kind of cleans it out.
All my life.
Pad synth
All my
from
life.
that warmth, that heavy synth.
My life.
That's pretty cool. I like that. All right, so let's move on. We don't have any bass in the build yet because we're utilizing the bass and the sub distorted bass all for the drop so we can really smack that drop. But what we do have are some drums. We're going to bring the drums in on the build right away. So in this build section here, what I decided was halfway through the build, we're going to change this into kind of a traditional EDM breakdown. Boom, 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 cha 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 cha, chicka 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 chicka. So we didn't do that in the first part, in the first build. So I figured it was about time we get one of those in there, just to kind of reel the song back in and say, here we go. We're going to give the drop right back to you. So I decided, and this is why also I break these parts down sometimes. So if we have build two, I know we didn't put this in previously. I have build 2.5. So this gives me a marker that says, hey, this section, let's make sure we add something or do something to this section. It's all about organization. And it's also a point of reference for me to get my mind cycling and thinking, this is every 4 bars. Let's get something else going into this tune here so the listener doesn't figure it out and they know what they no longer want to listen. So what I decided was I was going to take the very same verse pattern for 4 bars. So let's grab these kick drums. Let's take them up to bar 53 from the second verse. And we'll click and drag, copy, paste them into the build. So now we have this regular beat that we've had going the whole time. So we get this.
All my life. All my life.
All right. So once we get to the second half here, I almost want to have a drum transition that says, hey, we're no longer doing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. We're gonna go into that da 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 digga 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 digga. So we need kind of a drum transition here. So what I decided to do, and this is all when I'm writing this stuff, I mean, pound on your desk. If you play drums, you probably get this, but think about how do we introduce the next four bars. So I wanted to get kind of like a do 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 do. So what does that mean? It's from here it would be a one, one and a two, or in this case it would be four and a one. But so to get that, you can see that logic has this grid section here. This is giving us our counts. We're in 4/4 times, so we got one. This would be one E and two if it were bar one, but it's not bar one. It's fine. So we want one and two right here. And then we'll have the heavy kick. So when we cut the kick drums really, really small like this, first of all, let's drag this out as much as we can so we can get more of that. But when we cut the kick drums, as we've talked about, we need to put fades on these to make sure we don't get any kind of clipping. So if we listen, it's fast, it's subtle, but it is there. So we want to just go ahead, grab these two guys, and we can go to region on here. I want to do it by numbers. I don't want to just fade it. I want to take off as little as I can, but still get the click out of there. This one could use a little more too. All right. So once we have that, we're going to start pummeling this. Do on every quarter. 1, 2, 3. So we can take any of these heavy kicks. You can grab this one and you can stretch it out to the full bar here. So then I want do. So we're on our 4 bar section here. You guys can see 61, 62, 63, 64. I want every quarter. And again, just for reference, this is where your smart snap regions to absolute value is going to help you, because if you have it on relative, or if these weren't set up perfectly on grid, you're going to have these just so slightly off, and it's really going to screw you. So let's go ahead. Since these are on absolute, I usually check these again during mixing, but I can hit Command R and start copying this stuff. So now we get. Now I want double time. I want it to go even faster. So let's copy this over. And I'm going to break this down to half of its length. Just like that. And then I want to put this in a bunch more times. So now we get. Cool. And the way I ended this kick was this bar right here. This is our heavy synth, and this is our low chop. So this is our half bar of no more drums, nothing else. Let's get the drop going type of feeling. So now we have our kick drum in here. I decided that also on the second half of this build, I want to also incorporate the EDM snare and the smack snare. I don't really want this tonal snare. You guys can throw it in there and see for yourself how it sounds, but I decided I didn't want that. So we're going to grab this, and we're just going to support the kick drum. So these guys bleed way past this quarter here. So we're just going to click and drag them back. So they're in line. And then we're going to follow the kick drum pattern. And before we do that, let's make sure we get some fades on them. So we highlighted both of these. We're going to use the fade out in the region. I'm going to watch the fade operate on these audio regions here. So that's probably enough. We'll just listen to these two. No popping, no clicking. So we're good to go. So now that these are in line, let's just ring them up with the kick drum. Then once we get to here, same routine, drag it back even more. Watch your fade. If you get any popping, adjust your fade. And now we get this.
All my life, all my life,
Cool. All right, now we're on to the FX. Didn't take too long. So we have our riser. We're going to want to use that again. So let's just drag this guy over here. And then we also want to use a downer. So we'll just drag it over here and we'll hone in on it in a second. So the downer is the easiest one. We want that right on the downbeat of build two. So we'll snap that in there. And then you guys can see that this downer is going past, or actually it's right there. So it's perfect. It cuts off. We want to make sure everything's cut. So we just get that heavy synth in the low chop center. Our riser, we're going to utilize this and cut it at that point. So I want to get as much out of this riser as we can. I want it to start building the build up. So we're going to actually drag this back. We're going to make sure it's snapped right there. It's within like a millisecond. It looks perfect. So now we have the riser cuts here. Downer, there's no information going past here, but we have it cut just to be organized. Downer's on the downbeat. Riser starts and ends right where we need it to end in line with this other stuff. So all together from verse to build up to drop.
all my life. Been waiting for you and I. We can't ignore everything going on in between us. In the light, in the dark, you're my witness. All my life, all my life, all my life, all my life.
And then you guessed it, it's drop time. So that sounds pretty good. I love that. I love what we have. We made the build just a little bit different, but it's just enough. We'll get into the drop, second drop next, and potentially the outro and wrap this up.